Male authors tell women's stories. Women write as men. White film directors have made plenty of movies about black stories. But how about black directors telling stories about whites? Well, it has happened, but does it happen enough, or is there a barrier black directors must overcome? Well, here to explore that issue is Mike Sargent of Orig on Screen. Is this the next frontier for black directors, or have they really kind of already crossed it, like kind of a glass ceiling?
Well, yes and no. If you look at the trailer for The Longest Ride, which is the new Nicholas Sparks film, it says from the producer of The Fault in Our Stars. It says from the best-selling author of The Notebook. And what it doesn't say is that it's by the director of Soul Food, George Tillman Jr. And even though Soul Food was a romantic film and it was successful, it's still a black film. So that's not going to bring in the audience for The Longest Ride. So this is a case where black directors have to make a choice. They want to keep making movies. They aren't making that many black movies, so they have to direct.
Because they're not making money? Is that?
Well, that's a whole other conversation. Whether it's actually making money, you know, Hollywood likes to put people or everybody in a box. You know, if you're an actor, you're a type. If you're a director, if you're a horror director, you're not going to get to do a romantic film, or it's going to be difficult for you to do that. So if you're a black director, they think of you as a black director. You do black film, not, you know, mainstream.
You know, white directors get to tell black stories all the time, very often winning awards in that process. So how do black directors feel about that?
Well, it's interesting. John Singleton wrote a controversial op-ed piece in the Hollywood Reporter a few years ago addressing just that. He famously said that Hollywood feels like it doesn't need us anymore to tell African-American stories.
Really?
And yeah, well, here's the thing. If a white director can make 42, can make The Help, can make a number of films, can make Ray, why do you need a black director? Why do you need even a black writer? If they can do it and get awards, and black folks will come and white folks will come.
Well, is it all just about awards and all about the money? Yes, it is.
It's show business.
Yes,
it's not show art. It's show business. So yes, it is.
In other words, it's show enough.
Show enough.
Okay. All right. The Last Dragon. I had to throw it in there.
You had to throw that in there.
Is there a stigma for black directors to direct mainstream white films?
Well, you know, there is, and black directors have had to be very strategic. If you look at Steve McQueen's career, Steve McQueen had to make two films that were, you know, they were white films, and they were art films, and that kind of gave him the street cred before he could, on his third film, approach something with black subjects, which was 12 Years a Slave. You know, his first film was Shame, and then he was Hunger, and then he did Shame. Neither of those films you would even know the director was black, because they were films about white characters.
I guess the question is, I'm going someplace with this. Have a lot of other black directors done that to direct all white films? Is that something that?
Well, actually, quite a number of them have. You know, if you look at the career of someone like Antoine Fuqua.
I was about to say that name. Yes.
Now he just recently directed Denzel in The Equalizer, but his first film was Replacement Killers.
That was a great. I enjoyed that film.
Yes, it was. Okay, but his first film, like I said, was Replacement Killers, and that was a Chow Yun-Fat vehicle, and that was, you know, again, you know, no major black characters. And a number of his films, he's done Tears of the Sun with Bruce Willis. He did King Arthur, which, you know, there weren't any black knights running around, and he did Shooter.
Not that we know of.
Okay. He did Shooter with Mark Wahlberg, and he's about to do the Magnificent Seven reboot.
Wow.
So he's a director who has been strategic. And another example is Carl Franklin. Carl Franklin, his first 4 films were white films.
Okay, and we already went through this thing about directors or black directors are forced to take because of the lack of black films being made. I'm still kind of scratching my head about that. There's so much material here.
Well, there is, but you look. I'll give you an example. Bill Duke. Bill Duke.
Oh my God, that's a name out of the past.
He did. He did a film called The Cemetery Club, and he's a director like Carl Franklin. And Carl Franklin, you got to remember, came out of TV, so he kind of came from the inside out. You know, he didn't just do film. He did TV. He's won Emmys and whatnot. But if you want to keep working, you can't wait for them to greenlight a black film.
What is the attitude in Hollywood towards black directors, Mike? Honestly.
Well, you know, that's a good question, because I read an article recently where a writer was sort of dissing Rihanna for making that comment she made about the best thing about going to the White House was having a black president. And they said, well, what if Taylor Swift had said the same thing when Bush was in office? And what they don't get the difference is that for a black director to direct a white film, that's an achievement. When you're not part of the dominant culture, that's an achievement for you to get to do that. So it's very hard. You have to be very strategic. You have to push to get. You got to get your agent to get you that work to be considered for that, and hopefully you've had a hit. Because if you're a director, and there are a number of them who haven't had hits, or directed that white film and it didn't do much, then
And I'll finish that for you.
Yeah.
You're not getting another chance.
you're not going to get another chance. Exactly.
I can't stand it.
Well, there it is. I mean, whereas, if you're just a director, you might get, you get a TV movie, you might get this, you might get that. But if you're a black director, for the most part, you got to fight to get out of that box.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, look, we'll see what happens. I'm looking for some new films, but I'm looking for some more black films to come out by black directors.
I'll tell you what's the future.
We don't have time.
We don't have time, all right.
Next time.
Next
Okay.
time.
And thank you for joining us for a Rise review. We'll come back next week. Another quick thank you to jazz vocalist Chanel Johnson. If you want to take part in the tribute concert for Billie Holiday called Billie and the Boys at Jazz at Lincoln Center, the concert will stream live at jazz.org live tonight at 7:30 p.m. You can keep in touch with all of Rise's programs on Facebook. I'm Julian Phillips. Have a great week.